So you know what
Yes.
that tells me for Baby and Cesar Chavez during this time? That boxing was a year-round
Yes.
I don't even want to say sport. It was their life.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit. Just stick and move. Waking you up and saying, now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
So for this week's topic, because we talked about the Triple G versus Canelo Part 1, controversial fight of probably the past 5 or 6 years or however long it went, how long ago it was. Now we're going to go ahead and discuss the top 3 Mexican boxers of all time. All right.
Mhm.
So, Sam, give me your number 3. Who is your number 3 guy?
My number 3 guy is Eric El Terrible Morales.
Ooh, talk to me.
The reason I got him as number 3 is because he did in one moment that other boxers couldn't do.
Yeah.
When Junior Jones was champion, he beat Barrera, and Morales beat Junior Jones. He beat a prime Manny Pacquiao.
That's true.
He beat a prime Manny Pacquiao, and he gave us one of the greatest wars that we saw against 2 fighters when he would fight. He fought, I think, 3 times against Barrera,
right?
And I was just looking at his history, man. The guy was he's an amazing boxer, and I remember seeing him when he started in Azteca. When a lot of fighters from Mexico start out, and that guy, for me, in my opinion, is one of the top Mexican boxers of all time.
I couldn't disagree with you anymore. Man, I just have so many memories watching him in those big old epic battles, especially with Pacquiao. I know Pacquiao got the best of him towards the end.
Yes,
but you could ask Pacquiao what were his greatest battles. Morales is definitely up there. And, that was like the most fun time in the early to mid 2000s of these lightweights just duking it out. And it was just constant face-to-face brawling. I mean, there was no defense whatsoever. So I like your number 3 pick.
Yes. How about yours? What's your number 3?
All right, so my number 3, I'm going way back. I'm a historian by nature. I teach history, so I love to give little history lessons to where most people would not follow. So I'm going to go to probably the guy that put the Mexican boxing style on the map, to Alberto Baby Arizmendi, way back then, pre-World War II. And this is a guy who fought 138 times, okay? He didn't have a perfect record or anything like that. But this was a time when boxing, it was probably the number 1 sport in the world. There was baseball because of Babe Ruth, and boxing. There was the other big thing to do. Yes. And this guy, he came in from another country. He went to the New York State Commission, which was the Vegas of back then. And he kind of was a media darling in a weird way. I mean, this guy, he has, for his notable wins, probably the 2 most notable wins was him defeating Henry Armstrong, who many people have considered a top 5 boxer of all time. And he beat him twice. He beat him twice back to back. So for me, I have him number 2. I'm sorry, my number 3 greatest Mexican boxer, because he brought attention to the Mexican fighting culture that we all love and respect today.
Yes.
That guy is my number 3. I think ESPN had him. The guy he defeated, Henry Armstrong, ESPN had him, I think, number 2 of all time, and Bert Sugar had him number 3 or something like that. So this guy, he fought many wars, and that's why he's my number 3.
Wow. Good pick. I would never thought of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, cool. So tell me your number 2.
My number 2 has to be Salvador Sanchez. Salvador Sanchez, at his young age, he pretty much started the whole Puerto Rican Mexican, war rivalry.
Right.
And when he fought with Fredo Gomez, and that was like an epic, fight. And I mean, it's still being watched till today. He fought Danny Little Red Lopez and just
Right.
completely put on a schooling. He beat the professor, Asuma Nelson.
Right.
And,
Right. That's right.
he died at a young age of 23, but his boxing IQ, his style, everything that he's done that I've seen is just I could imagine. I can't even imagine the potential, of what he could have become if he would have lived another, if he would have at least done his whole career to the age of 35 or something. But I have him as my number 2 best, boxers of all time, Mexican boxers of all time.
I have many memories I have more memories about who he was than I ever saw from watching from him. I mean, this guy is borderline folklore, not even to Mexican boxing fans and historians, but just in general. I think Mike Tyson even said that he was the best boxer he ever saw.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And I don't know, man.
Roy Jones said the same thing.
Your wise was a guy by the name of Salvador Sanchez.
You see, I don't know who Salvador Sanchez
is. That's right, because you're not that big of a boxing fan like I do.
Mantequilla. Salvador. But I don't see.
Who's the best boxer? Salvador Sanchez. I think Sanchez is hard to beat. He's one of those guys with Sanchez. This has made him really special. If you're a halfway fighter, decent fighter, you might last the distance. As good as you are, the greater you are, the more he kicks your ass. He fights right above the level of the game that he's fighting. If you're gonna ass killer, he's gonna fuck you up. He's just above everybody else. Monster!
Style. He had that head first style, but at the same time, he had slick defense. I honestly think that, if he didn't have his accident, within a couple of years, that clash, he would have gone up to have fought Cesar Chavez at 130. Or to be honest, they were so competitive. Mexican boxers have been so competitive, never to say no to any challenge, that I wouldn't be surprised if Chavez would have gone down to challenge him, to challenge his undefeated record at the time.
Yes.
And Salvador Sanchez, what was he? 44, 45-0-1 or 45-1, something like that. Before he died, the future was bright with him. He had that attractive style where not only was it a bully style, but at the same time it was also kind of slick. And I give a lot of credit to your number 2.
Yes.
So good
How
call.
about yours?
Good call.
How about yours? What's your number 2?
Mine is none other than who we talked about today, Canelo. Okay. I know, controversial. And the idea that a Mexican boxer is so polarizing, whether you love him or you hate him. And if you hate him, you really hate him. And if you love him, you really love him. So when I see Canelo there, when I think of Canelo, oh man, he's just taken all the challenges. He's gone up. He went down to fight Mayweather. He went up to go ahead and fight Triple G, the supposed boogeyman that you and I just talked about. He never stood down. His style is amazing to watch. And here's another little point I want to give. Like the way Mayweather spoiled us with the whole money thing and being undefeated. You know what else he did? That Canelo did that spoiled us as a modern media fan, is that if you don't knock out a guy, you're washed up.
Yeah.
So if Canelo goes into a fight and he goes the distance, he's not the same guy anymore. Versus, I remember watching boxers way back in the day, whether it was a tune-up fight or anything like that. If they went 12 rounds and they won handily, then they never questioned his dominance. But for Canelo, he did a great job of tricking people, or I don't know what the right term is, to believe that, he didn't knock down the guy, so he's slowing down.
Yeah, exactly.
he changed boxing. Like he took the baton from Mayweather and he ran with it, as we mentioned on the podcast earlier, and that's why he is my number 2.
Wow, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
And I got him as my number 1.
Ooh, all right.
I got Canelo as my number 1 because his activity. The guy is
definitely.
his activity. And I mean, he took on fights that towards, recently, like Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, people were like, no, Caleb Plant's gonna, outbox him at 168. And well, look what he did. Look what he did with Billy Joe Saunders. He got in the ring with Bivol, which everybody was like, what is he doing? That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. The whole thing. I got him, being a unified champion, fighting Mosley, fighting Cotto, and it's just his charisma, everything that he brings to the table, but mainly is his activity. I mean, the guy, when he fights, everybody watches. And
that's true. That's true.
And he signing a 3-fight contract to fight. Now he's going to fight Jermell Charlo. Then hopefully Benavidez and Spence or whoever's going to fight. But I mean, the guy is still fighting,
right?
And whatever happens in the next year or two, the guy has cemented his place as being, in my opinion, the greatest Mexican fighter so far.
I cannot argue that point. I will say this: boxing has a sorry ass history. Sorry for the bad word. A sorry history of sometimes forcing the legacy guy to pass the baton. So what I fear in this PBC thing, whether it's with Charlo or Benavidez or Boo Boo or whoever he's going to fight in these 3 fights, I have a feeling that if he goes a distance with one of them, that they're going to give the scorecard to the other guy, because they want that Benavidez or Charlo, whatever, to be the next face because they're younger. They did that to Pacquiao. They did that to De La Hoya. They did that to Roy Jones. Well, Roy Jones got knocked out. But I just have that feeling that in these next 2 to 3 fights that something shady is going to go on. And here's the other thing. He's so polarizing that people are going to be like, well, that's what he gets for Triple G. Like he has something personally to do with that. So for me, I love your number 1. I couldn't put him here, but I will say this. If he does go 3-0 or 2-1 with that controversial loss at the end or something like that, I have no problem him being number 1 all time for sure. Okay, so my number 1 is none other than the cliched pick, Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, for me, he's an icon, especially for our culture here in the South Texas Mexican border. I mean, I grew up hearing about this guy. I watched all his fights from the late 80s and on to the 90s and everything, even his controversial fight with Whitaker, which you and I will do an episode on eventually. But this is the guy who in 89 fights in a row and never even hit the canvas one time. I mean, whether you want to say, well, he was fighting tomato cans early on in his career or not, look, just like the way I said with Baby on my number 3 pick, they had to fight 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times a year just so they can make it a living. So you know what that tells me for Baby and Cesar Chavez during this time? That boxing was a year-round fight. I don't even want to say sport. It was their life. So after his bout, he goes right into training. He doesn't go on vacation and go golfing or go out with family. He has to go back to running the hills of Sonora, Mexico. So to me, the fact that he came in, became the face, he had his revenge against Meldrick Taylor, the iconic, and then even when he was slowing down, he still goes all the way up to 140 to fight De La Hoya twice.
Yes.
And yes, was he outmatched? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it's a Mexican champion mentality, but you always go to the challenger.
Yes,
And everybody
yes.
that you and I chose, from Morales to Baby to Canelo to Julio, they always did that.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So, any final words? Any final words?
I give credit to your number one pick because of same thing with Canelo. It was the activity, man. I mean, it was the activity. He fought Pernell Whitaker. He fought Meldrick Taylor, which at that time, I remember reading the magazines. Meldrick Taylor being the fastest boxer, at that time. A champion, defeating Roger Mayweather twice.
That's right. I was gonna. That's right. He did.
Yeah, fighting Hector Camacho, a good Hector Camacho, and just everything he's done. Especially for the country of Mexico, I do. I understand why you have him as his number one, as your number one.
All right, so thank you. This has been a phenomenal episode. Do you have any final words for our viewers out there?
No, to like and subscribe our channel. We're going to be putting out content. If y'all have any ideas, let us know in the comment section. Fantasy fights, whatever it is, or fights in the histories. We'll watch it and we'll give our take on it.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, exactly what Sam just said right here. Follow our Instagram, follow our TikTok. We have all the links on the bottom. Leave comments. We'll respond to as many as possible. And just like you said, give us some ideas of fights you want us to review and break down, and we'll definitely do that. So thank you guys very much. Sam, thank you for everything. Until next week. And all right, guys. So we'll see you tomorrow, or we'll see you next time.
Yes.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit. Just stick and move. Making you understand. Now stick.